Good morning, everyone. My name is Annie Fink, and I'm the Marketing Coordinator for Wonderware California. Thank you for attending our Learn in 30 webinar today, focused on performance and OEE data in the cloud. After the webinar this morning, we will be doing a short Q&A. Please type any questions or comments into the Q&A box, the chat box, or you can email us at webinar@california.wonderware.com. Now I'd like to introduce your presenters for today's webinar, Tim Brost and Josh Ireland. Tim and Josh are both automation industry experts with Wonderware California. Good morning, Tim and Josh.
Good morning, Annie. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Josh Ireland. I am an account manager here for Wonderware California. I'm going to talk a little bit about Insight and OEE and then turn it over to Tim. But before we get started there, just a few announcements I'd like to make. So Viva 2020 was released last week. For more information on that, check out the Wonderware California YouTube channel or contact us for more information. We has also released the entire Wonderware HMI Monitor and Control e-learning curriculum, and it's free of charge. So the courses that are included are products like InTouch, System Platform, Historian, Edge, and SciTech. There was an email that came out about this a couple weeks ago, but if you'd like to learn more, then feel free to reach out. We have more webinars like these planned in the future, so check out the california.wonderware.com URL and go to the Educated tab for more information. You'll see we've got a couple planned next one, then one for the following week. So now to get into Insight. So what is Viva Insight? It's more than just a cloud historian. It's a cloud-based industrial solution for operations. It includes collection, storage, and visualization of cloud data or of plant data, plus cloud-based MES functionality, condition management, advanced analytics, machine learning, mobile reporting, and more. Insight enables users to connect with critical plant production data anywhere, anytime, and from any device. You can unlock plant performance and efficiency KPIs like OEE and asset utilization, which is what we'll talk about today. You can compare across shifts, assets, plants, or fleets. Understand the performance and state of production process in a visual context the way that you would like to see it. You can create personalized content, dashboards, and alerts. And you can share and collaborate. So you can collaborate across and between your teams. So what is OEE? It's a measure of productivity, and it identifies the percentage of manufacturing time that is truly productive. OEE is overall equipment effectiveness, and it helps our customers understand their planned downtime versus actual operating time for availability loss, as well as its maximum performance versus slow periods and minor or micro stops to figure performance loss. And good production versus underweight goods or goods that need to go to scrap or rework for quality loss. OEE is a figure calculated using the ratio of fully productive time versus 3 loss-related factors: availability, performance, and quality. World-class OEE is 85%, and most manufacturers are in the range of 60%. So why Insight Performance? Insight Performance is OEE made easy. So again, it's quick and easy. You can replicate and import OEE data in just minutes. It's secure. It's one-way encrypted data replication, so no access to your control network. You can manage your user access via corporate email addresses, so you decide who has access and what they have access to. It's powerful, so multi-plant OEE in a single pane of glass, in a single view. You can distinguish performance across lines and shifts. And once again, you can access it from anywhere. So via web browser on computers, on an app on your phones or tablets, or you can also display the data across TVs on the plant floor or wherever you'd like. So we've got some customers that are leveraging Insight Performance. I'd like to talk a little bit about some experience that I've had. So this particular case, we had a customer need for equipment uptime and downtime. They had no insight into when their equipment was down or why their equipment was down. They also wanted to track performance and production by shift. So the result in this case was they had uptime and downtime visualization available in just days. The customer learned to build OEE dashboards while on the job. Management had access to remote plant OEE from all devices, so from his iPad or from his computer. And we've got some next steps to roll this out to multiple plant locations. We had kind of a cool quote from this particular customer where he said, "The fact that I could learn this solution in a short period of time is a testament to how easy and powerful Insight is." And so I know we probably created a little bit of excitement about this, so I'll go ahead and turn this over to Tim to dive into the details.
Thanks, Josh. So as I share my screen, we'll get started with this demo. So the first thing is how to get to a Viva Insight. So you pull up a browser, log into online.wonderware.com, and you'll be able to log in using your created account once you've registered. And as you log in, you'll land on the familiar homepage within a Viva Insight, selecting my solution. And as Josh mentioned, this really is an easy to use solution, and it's very easy to get this up and running in a short amount of time. And over the course of this demo, we'll help kind of elaborate that message. So if we go into the hamburger icon and go into the equipment efficiency tab, which is one of the modules for Insight Performance. So you'll land on the Utilization Events tab, and over on the left-hand side, you'll have my 4 pieces of equipment, and with status indicators of how those current equipment are operating right now. Right now, we have them all running as expected. So with this Utilization Events tab, we have a Gantt chart showing the different equipment states, color coordinated into either running, unplanned downtime, or planned downtime. We have some KPIs on the number of stoppages, the duration of those stoppages, as well as the time since the last stoppage. And then down at the bottom, we have some KPIs, downtime reasons by count and downtime reasons by duration, as well as summary of those categories of either running or downtime. Up at the top left, you'll see that we have a shift that's been assigned, and this has actually been assigned creating a shift pattern. So we've defined this shift ahead of time to coordinate with our operational shifts. So right now we have a morning shift between 7 a.m. and 3 p.m. So down at the bottom, we're viewing for the last hour. And you can choose any of those presets or choose a custom time range. And if we switch to our case packer equipment, you'll notice at the top right that we've actually configured or enabled to calculate OEE for this piece of equipment versus the capper. And we're operating within a simulated demo bottling line. And if we switch to the active run, it'll translate the data for this current production run. And something to note is all the data that you see here can either be as automated or as manual as you'd like. So all the tools and features can be automated from tags generated from either your historian or your SCADA system, or if there's some gap in between, maybe it can't be automated, maybe due to equipment capabilities, you can have a sort of hybrid solution and have manual input from your operators walking around the plant. Now in this production events tab, we see kind of a snapshot of our current production run. The defined default rates that we want for this production run in terms of quantity, ideal rate, but we also see the actual and ideal target of this current piece of equipment. And down at the bottom, we see the current production statistics, the current production rate and the duration, as well as the estimated completion time. So scrolling down, we can see some good and waste production counts. And as I said, these can be as manual or automated as we needed. So if we selected the good production, I can add some good production quantities for this case packer. So I'll give it a production count of 15, and give it a generic quality of good production. And these generic categories can be, right now they're just generic, but they can be as specific as you intend for them. And so immediately you saw at the top, right, the production run updated with the actual production count. So going back to the utilization events, some things that you can do in terms of manual additions or input is I can select any of these KPIs and pardon. We'll explain a little bit about how this data is being inputted from our SCADA system. In this case, we're using InTouch Edge, or Viva Edge now, as it's been rebranded. And we have equipment sections for each of our 4 pieces of equipment. We have, in this case, our case packer, we have an analog value for the utilization reason, and we have good production and waste production counts displayed down below. And then down at the bottom, we also have some OEE data properties that have been automatically inputted for categorizing, the crew that's doing this production run, the product ID that they're currently producing, and as well as maybe the work order ID that kind of started this production run to begin with. So the production counts, if they're automated, they get updated every 30 seconds from the SCADA system. So if we were to input this, it'll be updated on 30-second intervals. But if we were to change the utilization reason to a different analog value that might correspond to an unplanned downtime state, you'll see that the equipment state changes, and as the Gantt chart updates, you'll notice that over on the right-hand side, right, this is associated, that 101 analog value is associated with a process failure. So as I was starting to mention beforehand, we can edit these utilization events. So maybe some of the reasons for editing might be because maybe something different occurred than what actually happened or was captured by the SCADA system, or maybe an event that occurred that wasn't at the time being currently accounted for or being able to be captured within the SCADA system. And so you can manually split these utilization events. So we'll go ahead and drag this timer over, and we're going to split it to the left. We'll pick our reason, and all these reasons have been imported from the configuration, which we'll get to shortly. And so if we click the emergency stop reason, we can go ahead and split it, and the Insight performance dashboard will adjust accordingly. And you see it right there. So now if we want to merge back, we can actually merge both of these sections back. We'll merge left, go back to the way it was before, and merge those utilization events. Notice down at the bottom, the KPI is also updated because we added an additional event of a process failure. So that count KPI increased. Here's where you'll see the OEE data properties that have been automatically imported from Edge. But you can also, as I said, the growing theme is I can add manual property values as needed. All right, so one of the things is the other module that we have access to is the OEE Analysis. So this is one of the other modules that's included with the Insight Performance. And so if we go into OEE Analysis, we'll land on a Utilization Analysis tab, which will give me availability of my assets and broken down into some KPIs. So we have downtime, total downtime occurrences, and then some standard industry metrics of mean time to repair and mean time between failure. Now, if we were to drill into one of these assets by selecting one of the column graphs, drilling into that grid icon, and we can see for this palletizer, the downtime reasons by count and duration right here. And if we click on the details tab, we can see the data behind that palletizer over today. And so we can drag and or filter that data by utilization reason by clicking and dragging it up into the top pane up above, and it automatically organizes the data by that column, in this case, utilization reason. And you can filter or categorize by one or multiple of these columns. So for example, if I wanted to, categorize by shift as well, it'll create a subcategory. Now in this case, right, it's just still the morning, at least in California. And so we just have the morning shift today. And you can also download this data and information as a CSV file to investigate in Excel as well. So going over to the OEE Analysis tab, you have the OEE percent as well as broken down into components, availability, performance, and quality. If we were to switch to yesterday, the data populates for yesterday's production runs. Now we can see that performance is the large indicator of maybe why our OEE is a little bit low, or significantly low, I should say. And so if we update those production counts for our individual assets, simulating automated data collection from our SCADA system, we can go back into the equipment efficiency page and look at the updated production counts for our case packer, as well as our filler and palletizer. So now how does this whole thing get created, right? So if we go into the administration tab and landing on the administration page, you'll go into the efficiency tile. And here you'll see 7 different categories of different components that you can configure for these efficiency models. So we'll kind of explain, going into the equipment tab, you'll see the list of our 4 pieces of equipment that we've defined ahead of time. And all of these things are defined by Excel files or CSV files. And with this equipment states, you'll see the different color categories for the different equipment states. And the format can be downloaded from a sample file from Insight. And then you can modify it to incorporate your data and then import it back in, and it'll be in the correct format in which Insight Performance accepts it. Now, OEE data calculations calculated the target availabilities that I want for each asset, as well as maybe some default values. Going into the disposition reasons, we'll see the 2 generic good production and waste production reasons that we've created. As said previously, those can be as specific as needed. And going into utilization reasons, right? So those integer values that are corresponding from our SCADA system being displayed as specific utilization events for those pieces of equipment. OEE data property categories that we've defined: crew name, product ID code, as well as work order ID. And the tags themselves that are imported or defined, rather, for that automated data collection. And it's broken down into 3 separate categories for utilization, production counters, as well as those OEE data property tags. And they're all generally configured the same way. So if we were to drill into the utilization reason tags, you see the namespace as well as the equipment name and the utilization reason and tag reference. And this is all defined the same for all 3. So the first portion of that syntax edge performance is the data source name to Viva Insight, and then the tag name that's coming from our SCADA system or our historian. And you'll get a default utilization reason as well as a validation icon confirming that a Viva Insight has that tag in its system. So how do you make a change, right? Or even import these in from scratch, right? So if we were to bring up the Excel file that I've created for my equipment states, I can change the color for runtime from green to blue. just to show an example of how quickly and easy I can make changes or import data directly in. So I'll save the file, and then I'll go ahead and close it and import that file by clicking on the gray box, selecting my equipment state CSV file, dragging it in, and you'll see that it's successfully imported. We'll go ahead and close. It'll update, and you'll see that the green color changes to blue. So now all our runtime events will be in the color blue. So if we go back to first our homepage and then navigate to equipment efficiency, we'll see as we go to the utilization events that now all those green sections have been changed to blue. So one quick and easy example to show how quickly and easily you can make changes or even just import the data altogether. Now, one of the new ways to view data is not only in just these asset views, but in the what we call an asset page. So if we navigate to this asset section in the hamburger icon, we'll land on the home screen for the asset page. And this asset page right now is showing is based on a plant model that either can be brought in from system platform or defined, be user defined by yourselves within the Viva Insight tag dictionary. So right now we have data for all of our pieces of equipment, but if we were to drill into maybe within the plant model, let's say going into the state of California and going into our Irvine plant, and then pack area for our bottling line, and then selecting our familiar case packer piece of equipment, we can see the status board of tags that are associated with this case packer, as well as asset information that we can define in terms of the plant that it's part of, which in this case is our Irvine plant, maybe a keyword in that this is a bottling line. And further down, we have a description. And then ultimately, we have geolocation coordinates, which correspond to decimal degrees for both latitude and longitude, which just so happen to be the location for Irvine. So we'll go ahead and close out. And scrolling down, we see we have a journal entries page or tile where we can manually add journal entries. We see the efficiency snapshot of this particular asset. So 6.3% is rather low, as well as the map data that's been brought in from those geolocation coordinates. So we can add a journal entry electronically for this particular asset, or even configure an alert for this asset, which can be a multi-condition alert where you can send that alert off via an email or a push notification to a phone. So how to add a journal entry? So just simply click the add journal entry button, and we can give a title that's user defined of maybe something was observed by the operator. In this case, maybe the case packer malfunctioned, that maybe might have not been captured by the SCADA system, and some generic operator comment that can be specific to the particular event. Defining a date and time of when this event occurred, and the KPI for the journal entry for over the last 7 days is updated. So from here, you can even drill in to investigate, okay, hey, my OEE 6.3%, what might be the reason for that? So we drill in and we can see the utilization analysis for that, as well as the familiar OEE analysis tab too. So going back to the asset page, we can see how something that we mentioned was how our shift patterns were defined. So in this case, if you remember previously, we were in a morning shift from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. So if we go back into the administration section, there's a tile called shift patterns. Drilling into that, you'll see that we have a predefined shift pattern for a 24-hour day for 5 days rotation. You see the effective date and the number of shifts that are incorporated for that shift pattern. But if we want to see what's the details behind it, we'll edit it and see that we've defined a name and an effective date in which the shift pattern takes place, maybe one or multiple locations in which we want to apply this shift pattern, and the pattern type. Now, right now, there's just production pattern type, but more pattern types are planned to be implemented. So we have 5 days a week, starting at 7 a.m. for the morning crew, as well as 3 p.m. for the afternoon crew, and 11 p.m. for the night crew. Now, if you'll notice that the start times are the only times listed rather than the end time. So if you have a period of time where there isn't a shift taking place, you have to incorporate that as a separate section. So for example, Saturday and Sunday, I don't have a shift. So I've incorporated a section where no shift or no crew is on board within my manufacturing plan. So we can go ahead and update this, even though we haven't made changes, keep the same settings, and that ultimately concludes our demo of Insight Performance. And I know we're happy to help you along with this process. So if you want to try it out and would like, maybe some consulting on, how do I get this all up and running with what I got? Feel free to reach out to us. And Annie, at this time, if there's been questions that come into the Q&A, we can field them now.
Perfect. So we did have a few questions come in, Tim. Our first one is, what data sources can I use to get my data into Insight Performance?
Sure. Yeah. So you saw that we were using a Viva Edge previously in this demo, but it can be, other Wonderware data sources like Historian, SciTech, or even System Platform, but as well as be third-party data sources using, like an OPC server, for example.
Okay. And then our other one is, can you have overlapping shifts?
So a shift, no. So a shift, as the way the shifts work right now, is that a shift is applied from just the start time. That currently in place shift gets replaced with the following shift as soon as that time gets in place. Now you could have overlapping shift patterns, which might accomplish that. We could talk a little bit about later if we want to get specific with that.
Okay, and then what hardware is Viva compatible with?
So Aviva's or Wonderware is widely known for being compatible with, takes pride in being hardware agnostic. So if you have a piece of hardware, we just need to, associate a current driver to communicate it with it, and we'll be able to pull in data from that specific hardware.
Okay, and then how will you incorporate a planner data?
Planner data. Not planner data?
Yes, sorry.
I'm not sure I understand the question. Planner data is in shift patterns. I mean, you saw the shift patterns, in terms of planned values in terms of shifts. But maybe if we follow up with a little bit more information, I could answer that better.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Tim, and thank you, Josh. And thank you to everyone who attended. If anyone would like to review any portion of this webinar, a recording will be available on YouTube and our website, california.wonderware.com, in the near future, and you'll be receiving a copy of it once it becomes available. Thank you again for attending. Have a great day.
Thanks, everybody.